Hey guys, I'm Alexis,
I'm Asha.
and we're your hosts.
Every week, we're going to be bringing you a new episode where we interview staff, fellow students, discuss current events, our interests, and life at CSUF.
This is the Honors Podcast. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another week of the Honors Podcast. We are especially excited for this episode because today we will be speaking with one of my best friends, Niveda Rao. She has graduated from Cal State Fullerton. She was a President's Scholar, so now she's a President's Scholars alumni. She graduated with the Honors Program back in May of 2020 with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry.
We are so excited to have you on the show this week, and we can't wait to hear everything that you have to say to our listeners about CSUF and your experiences as a President's Scholar.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
So first, we want to talk about how your journey at CSUF began. As a high school senior, what made you choose CSUF, and did you have any difficulty making that decision?
Yeah, so if I look back at high school, I actually went to a local high school, Valencia, which is in Placentia. So it's really just a 20-minute walk if you're walking. So growing up, I knew of Cal State Fullerton. I've grown up in Placentia my whole life. So it was the local college that a lot of my, upperclassmen friends had gone to. So I really wasn't thinking about Cal State Fullerton all too much, if I'm being honest, because at Valencia, I was a part of this academic program called the International Baccalaureate Program. And the culture there was very much targeted towards reaching those higher institutions or academic institutions that have research funding and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of my friends were focused on going to the UCs. So naturally, that was kind of where I thought I was going to be going. However, I think a couple years into high school, I had learned about the President's Scholars Program at Cal State Fullerton. A couple of the alumni from President's Scholars had actually gone to Valencia. So I knew about the program. I really wasn't focused on it. And then come senior year, when I was applying to colleges, I decided to only apply within California. So I applied to the UCs. I applied to a couple of privates. And then in terms of Cal States, I applied to Cal State Fullerton really as a backup, if I'm being honest, initially, and then Cal Poly SLO. And I had heard about the Prize Scholars Program, so I said, okay, if I'm going to apply to Cal State Fullerton, I should probably apply for the Prize Scholars Program. I've heard good things about it, but I don't really know a lot about it. So I got into Cal State Fullerton, and I was really happy to have that school as, if anything else comes my way, great, but it's not necessarily a priority right now. And so I got into a couple of the UCs, got into some of the privates that I had gotten into, and I think around January or whenever the Prize Scholars deadline was kind of coming up, I had not paid attention at all. My high school counselor was asking me one day, she was like, did you fill out a Prize Scholars application or an honors application for Cal State Fullerton? And I was like, no, I forgot about it. And he was like, well, it's due today. So I'm going to pull you out of class and finish your application. And I was like, oh my gosh. One, he's so nice. I get to get out of class, but two, oh my gosh, it's due today. So I finished the application, and thankfully I got an interview for Prize Scholars, had the interview, and really did not realize how great of a program it was. Got to talk to a lot of people, but yeah, it was a difficult decision to make, that decision to come to Cal State Fullerton, because in my head, I wanted this college experience of like going away for college, and I would have only been 15 minutes away. The other thing was I thought I needed to go to a school that had a big name, and it turns out that this decision was the best decision of my life. So I love Cal State Fullerton. I do not regret my choice. I would make the same choice in a heartbeat, but initially it was really difficult to make that decision. And I had a lot of people in the community, in the academic community, or classmates and stuff that went to the Ivy Leagues and the UCs. And that type of culture really fosters, like, you need to go to the top school, name-wise, but all institutions, in my opinion, teach you the same things. And I was able to have a really catered experience here at Cal State Fullerton. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how so when Nivi and I met, we had such similar experiences because we both definitely had this idea that, like, because we both live so close to Cal State Fullerton, and we both had this idea of, like, it's not a good thing to go to Cal State Fullerton because where we sort of went to school, we went to different high schools, but there was this mentality of, like, the UC is the bare minimum of what you go to, and then you shoot for an Ivy League school, right? And there's this sort of stigma of Cal States. And just like what you said, Nivi, now that I'm a senior, I would not in a heartbeat change my decision. I would 100% still choose to come to Cal State Fullerton because of the tailored experience that we have with the honors program and Pres Scholars. And it's kind of like we get so much sort of special attention because we're in these programs, and they treat you so well, and you're really pushed academically within these programs. And I think that that's something that a lot of people overlook when they're applying to colleges and they go for that big name. We do also want to ask you, for the viewers that aren't familiar with the Pres Scholars program,
Yeah.
can you explain that a little bit more? What is it, and how has it affected your college experience personally?
Yeah, sure. So the President Scholars Program is essentially, it's kind of how the honors program is. You apply to these programs when you're a senior in high school. So you get acceptance to the actual school, Cal State Fullerton, and then you can apply for these specific scholarship or catered academic programs. So the President Scholars Program is a really generous scholarship. It's actually a 4-year full tuition scholarship. It's based off of merit, so your academics in high school, as well as extracurriculars and leadership qualities. You submit an application, and then you get interviewed, and then you get accepted from there. But the President Scholars Program is not just a scholarship, at least in my experience, and I think in Asha's experience too. It has been so much more than a scholarship, which is why I ultimately chose Fullerton. It is a community of people, like-minded, intelligent, really, really lovely people from all different majors. It's not just, the sciences or whatever. So I was a biochemistry major. Asha's a business major. So, you meet friends and people your age, and you have, 4 classes of scholars. So every year there's a incoming class, and it's around 70 people. And so for me, I had a built-in group of 70 friends already coming into college. The other thing that is amazing is the mentorship aspect. You get to know pretty much every administrator on campus at some point or another. You have so many people that are rooting for you, that want you to succeed. And that's something that I did not find at any other institution. Everyone on a case or on a name basis. The president and the first lady of Cal State Fullerton, Fram and Julie, and they really welcome all of the scholars into their home, and really want to see how they can serve us. And that is something that is incredible. So we do a lot of service. Our emphasis, we have 4 pillars, I believe. So it's service. So we do continual community service. We give back to Orange County, LA County. So we have local community partnerships. We do mentorship within the scholars. So, older scholars will mentor incoming freshmen, and you kind of keep those relationships together. We have a lot of social events. So, Friendsgiving, and we would have a spring formal. So really, it was a really amazing support system. There was absolutely no competition. Everyone genuinely wanted to help you out. I was pre-med, and I am pre-med. I'm applying to medical school. And the people above me that were also on that same track really were so willing to give me all the resources that they had. So it was a really big family. It was an amazing program. I highly recommend it to anyone, considering it. But yeah, and then we also really worked very closely with the honor students. So yeah.
So while being an avid member of the President's Scholars Student Association, we know that you were also a part of the University Honors Program. What was your experience like being a part of that community?
Yeah, so University Honors was also a program that when you applied to, you could apply either separately, or if you applied to Pres Scholars, you were automatically within the honors program. So the University Honors Program essentially replaced my GEs with the honors kind of GEs. So it was very humanities based. It was small classes, which is what I loved. It was no more than 15 students. And I was able to take classes from all different disciplines that I wouldn't have normally probably been able to had I just stuck with the normal biochemistry major. So I really appreciated having the honors program in my life, and I also made really great friends through the honors program. Some of the same people were in my classes from freshman year all the way to senior year. So I loved that. I loved that we have an honor center, so you can go in, get to meet people, use their printing services, which was really helpful. And then our honors faculty is amazing. I loved my professors. In specific, I don't know if either of you have had Dr. Samoy's, but I loved Dr.
You were gonna say that. I was like, shout out to Dr.
4 out of my 5 honors classes with him, so I really stuck with him throughout.
Great.
So I love him. He's a wonderful man. And yeah, I just had great experiences, and I took classes that were so interesting. Like I took a world cinema class, and that's like not even in my discipline. And that was so cool to take. And I took it with a couple of friends that were honor students. And so again, it's another family, it's another community, and it's another kind of, set of people that are so intelligent from all different disciplines. And so you not only get to learn with them, but you learn from them. So that was really cool.
Love that. Totally agree. And because you graduated in May, congratulations, by the way, that means you completed your honors thesis. So tell us a little bit more about what your project was about.
Yeah. So I actually did my honors project simultaneously with a research thesis for my degree. So the cool thing about the honors program is it's super flexible in terms, and the project specifically, the senior research project, is you can do your research project on whatever you want. And at Cal State Fullerton, you have so many faculty mentors that you could choose from. If you want to do something out of the box, you can. And that was originally my plan, was maybe do something that's not necessarily my research already, but due to time constraints and just how much time I'd put into my research project, I thought I could kind of combine both the two. So I did 3 years of medicinal biochemistry research through the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. So my honors project was basically writing that thesis of my 3 years of research and then presenting it in like a PowerPoint presentation style to the honors faculty as well as family, friends. This year it was through Zoom. So normally you would have your in-person presentation, but I gave my thesis presentation through Zoom, which was fine. My project was on this enzyme called protein kinase C. So it's a class of enzymes that actually has a lot of emphasis, and it works in a lot of different disease pathways in the body. A couple of those would be HIV and AIDS, cancer pathways, and we tried to figure out, okay, if it's working in cancer pathways, there is a little part of it's called like a modulator. So usually you need to activate this enzyme before it works in these disease pathways. And if you can change the modifier or the activator, sometimes, you can change what happens in that pathway. So I created an activator, or kind of synthesized from scratch a activator that when it works with that enzyme, it actually shows a decrease in tumor growth for certain cancers. So it's basically, we were doing like drug discovery type work. So it was really cool to be able to work on that project for 3 years. And we were actually able to publish a paper out of it. So that type of work.
She's amazing. This woman's amazing. She's my best friend, everybody. She's one of like my homies.
Asha is one of the best people alive. So we're gonna start a podcast soon, probably something like that.
We will. But like, I mean, it like blows my mind away every time you talk about your research. First of all, getting published at this young of an age, like being an undergraduate and getting published, you know what I mean? And the pre-med industry is like, I mean, incredibly competitive. I've talked to Nibby a lot about this. My sister did pre-med and the path is so competitive. And I just, your honors thesis has such a big real world impact. You know,
and that's why I chose something like that. So with your honors project, you can really you can do whatever you're passionate about, you know? And for me, the reason why I chose that research is because I am interested in health and it has a real world application, right? Like if I work at the hospital and I see a cancer patient, maybe years down the line, something that maybe a tiny part of what I did can maybe help create a drug in the future that we can use for cancer therapies. So that's why I like it, is because these research projects really help you dive in to whatever you want to do in the future. And a lot of times, it doesn't even matter what major you are. A lot of times for like grad school apps or even for jobs, people will take this honors project as actual experience because, you know, you dove into what you were passionate about and now you have experience with it. So that goes for everything.
Well, that's your project. That's just amazing. I love how you're able to make that into something so impactful.
Thank you. No, it was just the research. I merely played a part in it. So.
Well, kind of stepping away from that, what has been your biggest takeaway from the college experience?
Ooh.
Heavy question, because there's so much.
Actually, when I hear that question, there's so many things, you know, it's not like one. I'm sure after this call, I'll probably think of like 5 other things that I could take away. For me, the biggest thing with college was when I look back at my 4 years, academics was a huge part, but it wasn't everything, you know? I think college, you grow academically for sure. You get a lot more knowledge that way, but you grow as a person. And that was the biggest thing for me is, these 4 years is not just you as a student. You're a sister, you're a daughter, you are in a relationship if you are, you know, you're a partner. And you're also learning how to adult, you know, I am still learning that, you know, we're all in that journey. And you're going to go through some really rough times and you're also going to go through some really amazing times. And, you know, I can't say that me freshman year was, you know, the same person as I am now. Every year you evolve. So I think for me, the biggest thing about the college experience was it allowed me to grow in so many more ways than just academics. I met people that are going to be in my life for the rest of my life. And then I also learned a lot of really good lessons. So the biggest thing about college, I would say, is it's a great time to figure out who you are. And I still don't know who I am, but you get a little bit closer. You get a little bit closer to figuring out what you like, what you don't like, what type of person you are when it comes to really, really rough times in your life. Like, what do you need in terms of dealing with stress, in terms of people and relationships, like who are you? So for me, the college experience was a mishmash of everything, but the college experience is what you make it. So for me, you know, when I would like watch TV shows, I had this like idealized version of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have the greatest time and it's not going to be all that bad. And it's just going to be a very glamorized version. And many times, I mean, obviously it was not like that. It's like high school where you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be High School Musical. It was not High School Musical. Okay. But it is what you make it. And you can have a college experience that is perfectly you and never have to apologize for that. So I guess that's a rounded answer. I don't know if I was answering that, but
no, that was great. You mentioned that who you were freshman year is someone very different than who you were when you left college. If you could go back to your freshman yourself and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, wow. Yeah. So I have to think about this one a little bit, but it's funny where I'm at in life right now. I almost wish that I could take parts of my freshman year self and bring it back, and then vice versa. So
I
what,
totally feel that. It's like, what is it? What
yeah,
is that phrase? Like, being naive is bliss, ignorance is bliss. I don't
ignorance is
know.
bliss.
The
Yeah.
youthfulness and the excitedness that we have. Let's
Oh
bring
my
it
God.
back.
Yeah. Like, I wish that I had the kind of confidence that I did coming in freshman year. I think I was coming off that high of like finishing high school and, the world is my oyster and I can do whatever I want. And you still can, you always can. But I think sometimes when you go through rough times in life, when you go through those really hard struggles, when you have a really competitive career pathway, you start to compare. And then that takes away from what you necessarily thought of yourself. So, I mean, if you let it, right? And so for me, something that I've had to work on, especially these past couple months applying to med school, has been the comparison factor. And so I look back at my freshman year self and I was like, she was ready to go. She had this track. She was like, I'm going to med school and I'm going to start now. So I would definitely take that, and I'm trying to reclaim that. But in terms of telling my freshman year self something, I would say, one, nothing is too serious. Things tend to work out even if you think it's not going to work out, and you're going to love Cal State Fullerton. You just need to give it some time. It is a commuter school, so even if you feel like things are like you feel alone, you're not, and you're going to find your people. And yeah, like college is what you make of it. It's really there's no set you know agenda. You get to explore what you want to do, and you get to have the power to say, yeah, I can do it, and that is possible for me. Your barriers from where you came from and what you think is possible is not actually a barrier. You can break past that. And I think Cal State Fullerton has a lot of students where I am continually humbled and reminded that people are breaking barriers every single day. Things that weren't possible for their parents or for their family, they are the first in their families to do so. So that is what I would say is, really enjoy the time and take your time. And it's okay to be innocent. It's okay to like figure it out. And even if it hurts when you figure it out initially, it's you're gonna grow in so many different ways. So yeah. Don't you guys look back at your younger selves, like even a year ago, even as a sophomore, right, Alexis? You might have a lot of things that you could tell your freshman year self, right?
Oh, definitely. My freshman year, I dormed even though I lived 15 minutes away from campus, and this is like so sad. I literally like it was the middle of the night, my first night I was staying there. I would call my mom in tears because I was just so homesick because like I'd never really been like far away from home, like well far away. But like I would tell myself, "You're fine. You're 15
Yeah.
minutes away. Like enjoy it. Don't let those tears ruin your experience."
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's another thing is like, I thought that I was like, I'm only 15 minutes away. I'm not going to feel homesick or whatever. I did commute all 4 years, but you know what? Your family and your parents, if you have a good relationship with them, but if you have a support system, that is the biggest thing. Again, it's not just about what you accomplish. It's about who is surrounding you while you're accomplishing those things, right? And if you fall, do you have people to hold you up? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, especially the family thing, talking about, because as a senior now, what I would tell myself as a freshman, I just came out of college and I was like, I'm too cool for my parents. Like, I'm going to live. I also, like Alexis and like you, Nivi, lived
Yeah.
like 15, 20 minutes away from campus. And so
Yeah.
I went away thinking I can't wait to just get out of the house and be away from them. Now
Yeah.
as a senior, 180. I've learned through things not working out and through getting hurt, I've learned that this beauty of unconditional love is seen first and foremost at home with the parents. And that's a privilege, to be able to experience that. And then I've learned who are actually my friends that are going to be there for me when things get hard. Nivi, you're one of the few, to be
Right
completely
back at
honest.
you. Right back at
When things completely fall apart underneath your feet, the beautiful thing about college is it's this time where you can really explore like the most intimate relationships.
Yeah.
By intimate, I mean like friendships, you know, those are some of the most intimate relationships you'll have. Watching those relationships go and seeing which relationships rise. I had no idea that I was going to experience that my freshman year.
And you know what? You will be surprised who ends up, really being those amazing people that are in your life. And you don't necessarily have to talk to these people every single day.
Yeah.
Some of the people that are the closest to me, we don't necessarily talk all the time. And I think for me, I need to go back to my freshman year self and remember and tell her, like, just because you want like that big friend group and stuff like that doesn't mean that that's necessarily fulfilling to you, right? So I think we go into this, college experience, even high school too, thinking we need to have like a huge friend group and we need to know everyone and all that kind of stuff. And you will. I mean, that's just the nature of college, through classes, through clubs, whatever. But it's okay to not be super, super close or tight with everyone. You're going to find people from different groups. I would also say, like, reach out and go into those groups that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. It's only in your mind, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to just figure it out. Okay. We're all going through the same thing. We're all figuring life out. And if you can connect with someone on any sort of level, that's cool, because, you have someone to go through it. Find study buddies, you're going to find people, and it's just going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes you don't need a lot. You just need the right ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. So as of us recording this episode right now, CSUF students are approaching their finals, and as you probably can relate to, stress levels are probably through the roof for most of us. So when you were feeling stressed at school, how did you handle that extra pressure?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My heart reaches out to all of you going through finals. My twin sister is taking an extra year to finish her degree at another campus or another school. So she's going through finals right now. So I get it. Yeah, finals are rough, and stress levels I'm sure, added on top with the pandemic, with everything that's happening right now. I could only imagine what you guys are going through. In terms of my finals, I will say, a lot of it was trial and error, and a lot of it was me realizing, oh, I'm not handling my stress in the right way. Like, it's getting to the breaking point before I realize, oh, I should have been taking care of myself way beforehand. Like, I think it was my junior year. My junior year was like one of the roughest years, actually probably the roughest year, in terms of academically, what I had going on. I was just busy. I had no time to breathe. And what ended up being sacrificed was my sleep, my self-care, my stress management, because I was doing so many things. And then at the end, I was just burnt out. On top of that, with academics, that's one part of your life. That's one fraction of your life, right? You could be having a whole host of personal things going on. You could have work stress going on. And I had all of that compiled. So I had to learn. It took me getting to that breaking point to realize, oh my gosh, I have to reassess how I am living my life and how I'm dealing with my stress in a healthy way, so that way I can continue going. It's only going to get busier. And especially going into the field that I'm going into, I need to be able to regulate, my mind, my body, my spirit, everything. So the things that really, really worked for me and are continuing to work for me when I put them into practice is I really like kind of taking time to be just with yourself. So whether that's you being mindful of where you're at. I took a yoga class at Cal State Fullerton, which was actually one of my favorite classes. It really forced me to actually think about nothing but just being in my body and like moving and stretching, and it was calming. So highly recommend taking a kines class if you can, to exercise or yoga. Meditation works very well for me. I'm doing that currently every day. It's a way for me to just kind of calm my mind down, especially in the world that we're in right now. spending time with good people, people that you can open up to, I think is amazing. People who don't judge. I think having those like close people that you can actually like open up to, even if it is really hard, it's important to kind of open that up to. And a big thing that I think would be great is, if you feel like you don't have someone to talk to that's neutral or is for you and advocating for you, I would highly recommend taking advantage of CAPS on campus or some sort of counselor or therapist if you have a lot going on. I think it is so important. I benefited greatly from having a CAPS counselor my junior spring semester, and it was really, really healthy and a great way to kind of be able to, release that kind of stress and everything going on in my mind, and process things in a healthy way. So your mental health is so important. If you do not have your mindset, or if you don't feel like you can get out of bed in the morning, then you can't do the rest of your semester and all that kind of stuff. So you have to take care of yourself first. So exercise, spending time with loved ones, knowing when to just be like, okay, it's not going to get done tonight. Let me just take the night off. And, talking to someone, maybe CAPS or meditation. So I would say those things really helped me.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Lots of good practical advice. And speaking of practical advice, our last question that we have for you, as someone who graduated during this pandemic, you were the first class that graduated online, and this next class is going to do that too. What advice would you give right now to the students who are trying to navigate, online school and pushing towards graduation?
Yeah, I only had one semester. I had last semester of doing that online. And that's where we were all kind of scrambling and adjusting. So it's so difficult. And my heart goes out to all the seniors who haven't had that senior year experience and won't be able to graduate, join the fam. Like, it sucks. It really does. And it's sad because it's such a milestone. And I want you all to remember that, like, what you're accomplishing in this year, in this period of time where everything's literally on fire, is no easy feat. You're having to focus on that and focusing on maybe family members being sick, passing away, the racial injustices that are occurring, just the sheer amount of stress in everyone's lives compounds. So I guess in terms of classes, I haven't had to take any, but I have been having to do, applications and such. I know it kind of, for me, I am like I go to bed in my night sweats and then I change into my day sweats kind of gal. But sometimes like actually getting ready and waking up and trying to feel like you would be going to school helps, because like when you look good, you feel good. At least that's my philosophy. Sometimes I always feel better when I'm feeling like I'm clean and showered and presentable. So that would be one thing. I would say make sure you schedule time to do things that are fun for you. So maybe, or relaxing, right? So like whether that's going on a walk with a friend or your family, stay safe. And, eating well, making sure you're eating, exercising or getting some movement, getting that stress out, that would help. And then in terms of studying, find resources that are working for you, right? So if you work well with pen and paper, do that. Even if your classes are online, take notes by hand. If you are okay with doing flashcards online, do that. Find a study method that works for you and stick with it. Don't worry about what other people are doing. And study with a friend or maybe Zoom. Like, I know you guys are probably having all that Zoom fatigue, but sometimes if you are by yourself, maybe Zooming when you're not in class with someone and just have it in the background of your computer, just to know that someone's there. It's like a study buddy. So I would say pace yourself. You're okay. And you'll get through it. And it's okay if your grades are not what you think they should be or what you wanted them to look like in this period of time. Believe me, it's going to be okay. Yeah, I think that's what I would say. What about you guys? How are you navigating?
I think for me, one thing that I really have to make sure that I do is I have to like either get outside or I have to turn on a yoga video and do some yoga just to like deconnect from the technology, like the Zoom, like you're saying, the Zoom fatigue. Just being active for me is very important. Otherwise, like I find I can't sleep at night because like I've just been on a computer all day long. I have to get out away from that.
Yeah, even going for a drive. I know you can't really necessarily go outside, but I love driving because then you're able to see what's around you. We're in Southern California, so we are pretty blessed if you do have the resources, if you have the ability to maybe drive around and see the scenery, that's always nice. But yeah, I agree with you, kind of disconnecting for a little bit because we're always like on the screen.
Yeah, same thing for me. I think going outside, breathing fresh air, and probably a mindset shift of just accepting the reality that we're in. I think in situations like this, it's kind of like quicksand. Like the more you try to fight that this is our reality, the harder it gets, the more you're kind of like, I want to go back to school and I want this. And I get that. I feel that. But there are a lot of beautiful things that can come out of this time. Alexis and I had a podcast a few weeks ago with Dr. Carolyn Thomas, who's our provost, and she was talking about, the beauty of like going on a walk and seeing your neighbors and like we wave at them now. Like it's a different time. And I feel like I have formed this appreciation for park picnics that I never used to have before. And I want to keep doing that after COVID. Like, I want to be like, let's meet at a park and like, let's bring a soccer ball or like a basketball and like, let's play around. Like, learning there are different things that we can learn from this difficult.
Oh yeah, 100%. There have been a lot of, as terrible as things have been, there are a lot of silver linings, a lot of things that I have personally learned. It's a period of growth, I think, for a lot of us. And so, yeah, like there are things that I never used to do, like walk around my house, or not just around my house, but outside of my house, for like just taking a walk or finding ways outside to socially distant and like go on hikes or stuff like that. Like those are things that I'm going to take with me. I'm also going to take with me all of the things that we've learned through current world events, right? Like how can we be better, more compassionate human beings towards each other? Because at the end of the day, we all feel and hurt and breathe all the same, And so we're all going through this kind of period of grieving, whether we are conscious of it or not. And but also there are some beautiful things happening, right? Like there have been so many acts of kindness. There have been so many people that are just stepping up to the plate and, taking care of each other has been so good. And so I really hope that, next year we have more toilet paper and more compassion,
Yes.
We can have both. So I think, this year has been kind of the biggest blessing for me because for the first time in 4 years, I've been able to hit pause on like my running marathon. And I think a lot of us can say the same, like we had to actually physically pause. And now it's like, okay, you can slow down a little bit and still accomplish. You can slow down and still be. So take what you can from this year, but also, I'm excited for 2021. So yeah. But good luck to both of you on finals and all of the people that watch, because it's not easy what you guys are doing. So
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much for speaking with us today and sharing your college experience with our listeners.
Of course. I mean, I'm honored. It's always like cool to it made me reflect on these past 4 years because I didn't really have time to think about it. So it's kind of cool. It goes by really, really, really fast. So, I mean, Asha, if you can even second that, I think it went by in a heart. Like the days are long, but the years go by really, really fast. So I'm already done. And it feels really weird to say that I graduated. I almost feel like I should be in finals right now. So
That's all the time we have today. Niveda, thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing your college experience.
Bye.
We are thankful to our audience for tuning in this week. For more honors podcasts, make sure that you check out HSAC's YouTube page to catch up on previous episodes and follow hsac.csuf on Instagram and HSAC Honors on Twitter. This is Asha and Alexis, and we will see you next time.
Next time.